Alright, in this video I'm going to be recapping and analyzing the Racing Kings World Championship of 2023 match. First round between 20th seed VladislavAlikin and the 45th seed Eric, with a bunch of H's at the end. Maybe it's Erica with a bunch of H's. I'm gonna go with Eric though. Maybe it's Erica with a very long A afterwards. Anyways, this is the first game. VladislavAlikin, as you can see, is much higher rated, by over 200, over 250 in fact. Today, uh, we actually had three matches today, and this was, I believe, the most one-sided. Although we actually do have another match that is more one-sided than this one, between bigger difference in seeds and rating. So this one should, with that rating set at the beginning and the difference in seeding, the outcome of the match that you'll see is to be expected. There wasn't any surprises with this one. There are a couple little moments to go over, but overall it was not unexpected or bad play from either player for the respective rating. The match was decided by basically one move or maybe two moves depending on the game. So in this first one, Eric, we'll go with Eric, has the white pieces, and they open up with King G3, King Symmetry, King F4. This time is the only game that he opts for a different opening. He opts for Bishop D4 to start. And this one just brings it into a Bishop to D4 symmetry line. Unless you go King D5, then it's a what is known as the Bobble Walk line for Bishop D4, but with King F4 played. Usually Queen H7 is played. So after this, maybe you play Knight takes C2, and then Queen H7, or just here and then Queen H6. But Bishop E4 brings it into the symmetry lines. Queen H6 is main line. King E5 is very popular, but Queen H8 is not very popular. In fact, it is a little bit harder for White to do, because after King D5, it is like playing a reverse King E5 setup, and Black has much better center control. And even though you may win a piece or something, if you win a piece, it actually opens the diagonal with initiative. Your queen's kind of in an odd square because your rooks, well, sure, you can go to G7, G8, but you don't have a piece to go to the 6th right now, unless it's your Queen F6, which does put your queen in an odd position. Queen A6 was played though, which does a reverse Queen H6 opening, meaning White is still alright here. Then Rook G8, you probably should have just gone King E5 in all honesty. Maybe even Queen E5 would have been fine. But then King D5 and Black slightly better, but still playable, so nothing to worry about. Knight takes C1, Knight takes F1, they trade the other bishops. Obviously it opened the queen attack. Fine moves. Bishop takes B2, Rook takes B2, all fine moves. White's probably slightly better here. Maybe Bishop takes B2 makes it more equal, because now this bishop isn't as strong. You can't bring it to E5 and eventually threaten this B8 square. So then Rook B7. Black has very good development. And Rook takes F1, obviously a blunder, just blunders the Rook, and this basically decides the game. The Queen takes F1, King H6, King goes forward. Probably the wrong piece you want to move there. Although it still allows it, because you're not going to advance with this bishop. There really is just no way to deal with it, so Black has it easy. Here, there's actually a killer move with Queen to F8, pinning the Rook, so the Rook can't go anywhere, attacking the Queen. The Queen has to come off the rank. If here, obviously the Bishop takes, so Queen F8 will have just been a killer move. But Queen takes E1, just take material, simplify the position, Knight B3, Queen C3, offer Queen trade while threatening the Rook. Basically, you have to take with the Queen and get the Queens off the board, and then it's just an easy win. VladislavAlikin takes the first game. Then we go into game 2. Knight takes C2, Rook takes C2, and we're going into Vladislav's main line. He plays this all the time as White, and it's something that if you are prepping for an advance against this opponent, you should look into this line. It's a very simple line, very easy line to draw. If you are a better player, you will be able to find easy ways to beat this opening. King G3, King B3, Queen H7 with the idea of Rook F5 eventually if you take the bishop. If you don't, the king can actually not advance to the center, but the rooks will be fine to develop it. It is odd move to go queen h7 immediately, so black can definitely find a way to win here, but knight takes f2, rook takes f2 gets into more of the main lines that you'll be more comfortable playing with. Rook c5, rook f5, all fine stuff, king c4, king f4, and rook b8 is the first move that's a little bit odd here, because sure you have the 8th rank, but you're not going to be able to deal with this by putting a rook there first. You almost have to drop the rook back. If you leave it there, then your minor pieces are too slow to get there to actually do anything about it. And you'll see this in the game advancing ahead. Rook to g6 played, just perfect staircase of the major pieces. Bishop b2, bishop g2, all normal stuff. King b5, king g5, knight d4. This is where the first odd move comes in, knight d3. Defense rook allows the advance, but then you have this fork. And if I show you that if knight to e3 was played, and then king to h6, of course the knight can't take back, but after takes, and takes, now you have this diagonal. Your knight's potentially coming to h4 or f4, attacking the rook. The king can advance. Sure, you have something like queen to f7 now, but it's more of an equal position. Unfortunately, that was not played, and knight to b6, the more direct move, which is a little bit close-minded here, because it only offers one idea. Because now where's your queen going? It's just this double diagonal, well, this reinforced diagonal, I guess, and nothing else. Going for black, right? Then king h6, trade, king a6, pretty expected, queen f7, and queen e5. All good moves up to here, at least, considering the position, but white's obviously better. And then an odd move from white to knight d7. It doesn't lose or anything, but it is just an odd move. I'm not sure the idea behind it. Maybe coming to e8 after h7, so you have the g8 square, but you didn't even need it. You could have left it there, for example, and gone to h7, and after takes, I mean, sure, you could take the queen back, and it's actually completely fine. You don't want to go ahead and blunder that, but for example, maybe even something like queen to f4 is totally fine, and the knight's not going to be able to get anywhere in time. Maybe you have here, but you just take the knight. If you come here, then just rook to g8, and you have nothing. It's a pretty straightforward win from there. Knight to c7 was played, then queen c5, and then just standard endgame here. Pretty easy for Vladislav to take that one home. So Vladislav's up 2-0 against Eric, and knight takes c2 line again for Eric. Well, this is actually a different opening. He played king g3 the first time. So knight takes c2, symmetry this time. Maybe trying to copy Vladislav, but then he plays kf4 going into a different line. Rook c5, all standard stuff. You probably want to go just knight g3 here, go into what Royal Maniac and a couple other fights. I know Royal Maniac was the one who has really been an expert in this opening, and I believe in the World Championship. In 2021, he discovered some better lines in this. Then rook g5, it's still fine, playable for white. King c4, queen h6 is an odd move though. Queen a6 with rook b6 is just gonna really hammer this queen down. Queen a5 here also works because after something like this, and maybe rook to b6, then your queen really doesn't have any good squares to go to. And if you do anything to this square, you do eventually have bishop to b2. Queen a7 was played instead, though. Still very fine move, but it's more of an equal position now instead of having black slightly better. Bishop g2, rook b6. Obviously, this rook doesn't know where to go yet, but it will get involved after some sort of play. And maybe even leave it there and threaten the knight on d2. But knight takes c1, taking the free bishop, which is totally fine. But you don't need to play that there because you hang your queen. Rook takes h6. So if you do, after rook b6, save the queen somehow, I won't even know what to play here. I'm sure there's a move. Maybe queen to f8. Just putting extra pressure on this rook. Obviously, you can trade, but your queen's out of harm's way. And then here, and then the knight, sure, it's fine to take. And then you have this as an option because this rook is hanging. And you have a good setup for white. Anyway, you hang the queen and then it's over. Just pretty simple endgame for black. And here you actually give the rook back, which is interesting. But if you give the rook back, I believe just queen to b8, and it's completely winning. Anyway, they took the free knight, and then they take the rook, but then yeah, here's just mate in one. No way to stop that. Vladislav takes game 3. Game 4 here, Vladislav white again, and goes into his normal line with queen h7, and then it's the same line played this time, rook b8. And same stuff played, bishop b2, knight to c3, or knight to c4, knight to g3. Still 93 would equalize the position here. But no, knight b6 again, and then king h6 again, trade the rooks, and this time queen to d1, which I don't know the purpose of this. Maybe queen to d7 is the idea, but it doesn't work. Queen to f7, and king h6, and then king h7, and it's already over. Queen c2, g8, and then yeah, it's over. Pretty simple game there. Nothing new there to show. Then Eric plays king g3 again in game 5. And king b3, king f4, king c4. This time opts for king e5, which is interesting. Apparently, not many players actually know the correct theory for this line, because it is just a pretty straightforward draw. So most players don't play it. It's very draw. Schroeder's winning opportunities. Cyber Shredder, the 2021 world champion, made some very good efforts into making this line winnable. And even I Make Many Mistakes beat Cyber Shredder with King e5 line in the last game of the World Championship last year. So it is definitely a good opening. And it is just overlooked by many players because it's not played enough and it is known to be a pretty easy draw. Queen e6, knight takes e2, and again, the only move here is king b5. Going forward, know that king b5 is the move. Not knight takes f2, not rook takes c2, it's king b5. Reason why after this move is because, guess what? Now you have rook f6. Sure, you can go something like knight d4, but then there's like a queen h4 move, king b5 maybe then. But then, I don't know, just maybe even... well, obviously it just takes after that, and then you do have rook f6. White's obviously better, regardless. But rook takes c2 was played, and yeah, rook f6, obvious. Rook b6 is a nice idea, but doesn't work. Rook e6, again, the same idea. Maybe you do want to play rook g7 first. You might even play queen h4. It still works, but basically rook g7, bishop d2, and then you have this diagonal that cannot be stopped, and white's just simply better. King b5 though, and rook g8. Good move here, allowing this red carpet to start to form. Rook to c7, pretty basic stuff. Bishop to g2, bishop to a3, all fine stuff. King f6, queen a7. Obviously, these may not be the best moves, but they are all fine moves. Nothing losing here. Knight f4, basic idea. Knight f4 is kind of actually a silly move because it doesn't work like that way, and you almost had to do this, but then there's a pin on the knight here. Really don't see another way to make it work. Maybe bring it back and then go here. I don't know, that's kind of silly. Knight f4 is an odd move because this fork. I mean, that fork is actually a threat right now, but you have king a6, which is what happens. Because now if the fork just king to b7. But queen h8 was played. Good not to play that fork. Knight c4, and then there's actually a blunder here. Rook to e8. I'm not sure the idea of rook to e8. This was the fine move because obviously the king only has a7, and the piece goes here. If you get rid of this rook, then that queen's just hanging. That's why it's not a bad move. You also have eventually a drop down here. Probably the rook is better. But rook to e8 is a silly move because you can't even drop the rook here. You have two moves in order to advance at all. And knight to a5 actually just draws here. Reason why is you can sack the knight or even the rook just to get rid of this diagonal, and then Queen b7, queen b8 is unstoppable, and it's just enough moves for black to be able to draw. And it's a straightforward draw. Anyway, knight a5, knight g6 was played, and then, yeah, just something to c6 here, and then black draws, but rook h7 was played, and it's already over. Just queen h7, and then queen h7, and rook to e7, and the queen's cut off, and it's over. Here, though, after here, this is a blunder. Moving rook back to e8. I don't know why he keeps moving to e8. That's just a free rook. Because it's a draw now after takes. And I'll show the draw. King g7. Alright. You don't play king a7. You play rook takes e6. Because after a move like this, you just advance. And you have king b8. It's a draw. And there's nothing white can do. But there was missed king a7 and then just rook takes. And then pretty straightforward, mate. Eric pulls back a game here. It's 4-1 in the series. And then we go into game 6. Same exact line up to here. Instead of rook to c5, king c4 is played. I don't think rook f5 is actually the best move here, which is odd, but basically you want to keep the pressure on this diagonal. With the queen, maybe just king f4, maybe even king g4, so you do have something available. But I think king f4 and maybe even rook g6 if they just choose to advance here like this, and eventually you have bishop g2. But rook f5 was played still fine. Queen a8 is an odd move because you have bishop g2 with initiative, but that doesn't actually work. King f4 was played instead, just fine move, bishop b2, and then bishop g2 doesn't actually work. The reason why is that even, well, I guess it works here, but it doesn't work here. The reason why bishop g2 doesn't work here is actually because of queen g8. It hits the queen, and the bishop blocks the rook's path, and you can't move that yet. You have to move the queen back, and h6 is fine, sure. Just it's a weird move in that situation. The rook is exposed for a trade, so that rook's not going to come into play at all. And now you just have to move a piece twice, and it's basically equal. But queen c8 was played, and white's just completely winning. Rook trade here, totally fine. King g5, and yeah, this rook's out of play, so you're just gonna continue. Rook takes e2, and king g6 is already, I think, a mate in like 5 here, mate in 6. And rook e5 is just completely silly. Blocks off this diagonal, just doesn't work. So king g7, king c5. 5-1. Vladislav needs to draw in this last game, which you can already see the result. King g3 line again, king e5, queen e6, same non-winning line, except now instead of take back to king c5, which doesn't work. 94 is a little bit better, but I guess the same idea with rook to b6, but Vladislav comes up with something clever here. Queen c6, and now you have your rooks, and it's just set up the unstoppable red carpet for the king. What do you do with this? You don't play rook g7 is one thing. You do play rook g8 though, and then you have this diagonal set up. Rook g8, if you come here, then you actually do just play rook f7. Reason why is because it's over. I guess there is actually queen takes h1 here, but I think you can just advance, and after something like this, the queen's out of the picture now. I guess there's this, and then maybe the queen comes back into it. I'm not too sure about that one actually. So yeah, it's a good question. Maybe rook g8 isn't the best move here. I thought it was, but I'll actually double check. Here then, I guess it's just bishop g2 directly. Rook g8 might actually lose. Let's see. Yeah, it does lose. Just because I missed that queen takes h1 move. But yeah, bishop e2. The eventual idea. So my bad on that. Don't mind that. So queen c6 is a smart idea though. It doesn't work entirely because of bishop g2, but yeah, and then he just lets it happen. And the queen trading here is odd. But rook g8 trying to set up that same red carpet. And bishop e2 is just a silly move. Just advance so that they can't come here. That way you have the ability. But I mean, it's a skewer. It's a simple move, but yeah, King C7, and it's just a draw. So VladislavAlikin takes home the series. Not really a ton to elaborate on there, but pretty clean match. And VladislavAlikin, congrats and good luck in the next round.